Good afternoon. My name is Michael Larranaga. I'm a practicing attorney here in the state of Colorado. I want to start this presentation by thanking you for taking the time to watch it. I know everyone's busy, so thank you. To begin, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I obtained my law license from Stern College of Law in 2020 at Denver University. Later that year, I got licensed, and in early 2021, I started practicing law in the state of Colorado. Since then, I have practiced in various areas of the state, including Los Alamos County, Fremont County, Arapahoe County, El Paso County, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but it's been rather extensive. In those practice areas, it includes real estate law, landlord tenant law, plaintiff litigation, defense litigation, and particularly partition actions. In terms of the 1 hour consult, I want to give you a little bit of background about that. Okay. So in early 2021, I started publishing a lot of information regarding landlord tenant law. Okay. It's an underserved area of the community. It's very difficult to find a landlord tenant attorney. And I thought it would be a nice public service to put out general information regarding the law, especially since COVID had just happened and the laws were in flux at the time, particularly following the renter prohibition on evictions, the executive orders that were happening in Colorado, and the CDC prohibition on evictions, and the various things that were happening. It was a very complicated legal environment. A lot of legislation was happening, so I started publishing content as to that effect. In addition, I started doing free consultations. During that time frame, my name got mentioned to, I guess, various legal service providers, free groups, and it basically overwhelmed me. Where the majority of my potential client intakes were these free case evaluations, where I just couldn't keep up with the caseload, and I wasn't serving anybody because I wasn't able to respond to everybody. So trying to thread the middle ground. Okay, we did what any good attorney does, and we monetized the process. And it's funny to say, but I feel that actually doing this may be beneficial to everybody because it's going to really sort to those people who really need legal advice. And my typical rate is 280 an hour. I have reduced that for these specific consults just because of the fact that it is an underserved area of the community. A lot of times for a landlord tenant question, not a lot of legal advice is needed. An hour is plenty of time to answer your questions. It could be a simple lease question, it could be a simple eviction question, but unless you're able to sit down and schedule that time with an attorney, it's just impossible to get those questions answered. So that's really where this idea of the 1 hour paid consult came from. In terms of the pricing, it's fairly simple. Okay. At no point will these consultations ever exceed 2 hours. For the first hour, it's $240. And that is a flat fee that consult. Regardless if the consult takes 15 minutes or the full hour, it's $240. Okay. So during that time frame, please come prepared to ask any questions you have. And if the question can be answered within that time frame, I'm going to do my best to answer it. In addition, if additional time is needed, those consults can be extended by an additional 1 hour, billed at a rate of $240 an hour, billed in 15-minute increments. Okay, so that will allow us to go slightly over if needed, if we need to get to a specific point that you need to address. In addition, that consult will never exceed $480, which is part of the price reduction, which offers the service to people for hopefully a lower cost, hopefully it gets their answers resolved, and hopefully it's fair to everybody. That's the goal with this. I'm not sure if it's going to achieve it. We're going to try it and see what happens. Okay. In terms of the scope, obviously within a 1 hour consult, we're not going to answer every potential question that you have about a landlord-tenant relationship. Some questions are going to require multiple hours of legal research, and they simply cannot be answered within an hour. Okay, especially cases that don't have a lot of case law, aren't readily apparent, which I would classify as uncommon questions. Okay, the scope of the 1 hour consult, it provides an opportunity for a landlord or a tenant to come in and ask a lawyer common landlord real estate questions regarding the residential landlord-tenant relationship. Common may include lease amendments. It may include eviction procedures. It could include security deposit questions, and so forth. Again, we're not talking anything that would require extensive legal research. I have the capability of doing legal research while I'm sitting here, but again, it's only a 1 hour consult, so the questions need to be limited to something that can be answered within 1 hour. And if they can't be, I will advise you during that time. In addition, if the client needs something specific that can be drafted within that time, such as a settlement agreement to maybe potentially settle a security deposit issue, potentially a lease extension to extend a lease that's already in effect, or something along those lines, which could be executed by the client without the need for an attorney in the future, we will try to get those done for you. Okay. All those forms will not have the letterhead of the attorney's name because I wouldn't be involved. This is a 1 hour consult, so everything's more of on a form basis. But a lot of times for the landlord-tenant relationship, that's all that's needed to resolve. I would say probably about 50 to 60% of the issues. So hopefully that will be enough to really get everybody going. Please note that these consultations do not cover any criminal matters. They don't involve civil litigation. So if you need help drafting pleadings for small claims court, district court, or anything like that, filing in those courts, this will not be the appropriate venue for you. In addition, I do not handle ADA discrimination cases and or government subsidized housing, particularly because that's a specialized area of law and I am just not that familiar with it. I am very familiar with contract law, landlord tenant law, but that area of law, I still have a lot of research to do in that area. Okay. In terms of time limit, again, it's 1 to 2 hours, leaning on the 1 hour side. It will never extend past the 1 hour unless the client agrees to it and the attorney agrees to it at that time, in which case it's billed in those 15-minute increments. Again, the whole goal here is to keep the cost low for someone who needs a question answered but doesn't have a ton of money and doesn't want to hire an attorney to handle the full spectrum. Okay. In terms of disclaimers, again, 1 hour limitation. We're not going to address every topic. And very often, this won't solve your problem. It's going to give you probably more perspective to hopefully resolve your problem. And that's my goal. I want to talk through your issue with you, give you ideas, and hopefully find a resolution that you think will work. That way, when you go forward to address the problem, you're coming from a confident position and that you can actually make an impact. Okay. And I I'm hoping that these work out and that these will be good for everybody. So thank you guys for listening. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to talking to you guys. Have a great day.